All right, John. Thomas,
Yeah.
A. Tommy Johnny, you're on the mic.
Right.
Show us around. Tell us what we got going on here, brother.
All right. All right. Give me one sec here. Right. How's it going? Yeah, we're here in Lisbon, Ohio. It's a decent, safe distance away from East Palestine because, believe it or not, that shit's still fucking. It's still, not safe for people to be. So we're just outside the danger zone, and we're just having a mutual aid event, getting people resources that they've been ignored by the federal government and so, crazy.
John, you're breaking up a little bit, buddy. You got to keep that mic near you or something.
All right, I'll tell you what. Use that mic. You want me to use this one? Yes. You're not near this. All right. You want to mute that one?
Well, remember, you're not in the stream, John. So if I put you back in there, then we've got that funny little icon.
Oh, shit. All right, give me. So if he adds me. Unless you're going to walk up there with this.
It's all good, brother. Just stand close there. Stand close to the, or use that. Or use that. That's work good too. Yeah, let everybody hear.
It'd be a good tech check. Hello.
Gotcha. Sounding good.
Correct. Yeah, we're gonna have a few speakers here. I can't concentrate with that. We're having, I believe, 6 speakers from East Palestine, like people that actually were more or less booted out of their homes because they're saying it's not safe to drink water. They're bathing in bottled water, and they can't be in their homes. It's just a nightmare. And so there's going to be a few of them here to tell their stories, and a couple other speakers, including my grandson right over there, Zach. Good kid, man. Good kid. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. We're having some mutual aid stuff out here for people that need the resources. We're going to do some speakers.
Woohoo.
Hopefully it turns out good, and maybe I need to even get some health care.
There you go.
But yeah, I think we're going to start in about 5 minutes. It looks like the mutual aid drive is going well. Speakers are starting to line up, so it should be any minute.
Very good. I'm going to go ahead and
put good today, buddy. You been working out?
Oh, dude, I've been working out on eating. So I'm going to go ahead and give us some music here again. That's okay.
Probably said, yeah, man. In the
gym. Hey, Cole, let him know that we're good now. And that way we can, I'll just put some music on until they start having speakers.
All right, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. All right. Looks like we're going to be starting in about 10 minutes or so. I think we're gonna start with Zach. And that gives stuff. So while we're waiting, I'm actually gonna give the mic to our friend Cole Ford, who's a heavy advocate for all things, I guess, progressive or lefty, healthcare, job guarantee, all that good stuff. So here you go.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having a rally here in a little while. We have some mutual aid here at the tables for everyone. Please stop by and get some supplies if you need them. We'd like to talk a little bit about why this is happening and why it isn't going to end. We have a problem with our government. There's no doubt about that. Medicare for all would save these people, but it's before that. We have a problem helping our neighbors and helping our citizens. We have to work together and learn how the monetary system works so that we can actually understand why we cannot help these people in East Palestine. We know that federal taxes don't fund spending, but our politicians and our media lie to us, and they tell us that we can't afford to help Flint, Michigan, or East Palestine, or all these other places that are suffering and people are dying. We need to get our act together and learn how economics work, how the federal government works, and how they are literally killing people to allow profit. Profit. That's what it is. They're doing it for profit. So we're going to take a few minutes, take a break, and let that sink in. We've got some flyers over here from Real Progressive. We have a banner up back that'll let you know how we can battle this with knowledge and we can move our society ahead. So we've got some flyers over here. We got some flyers over there. Please take a look at our website. Please pick up a flyer and let us help people instead of letting them die and stepping over their bodies.
Fire, keep going.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you out there? Like on news?
Oh, great. I'm Cole.
Hey, Steve, if you can hear me, throw up some graphics or something. We're gonna be a few minutes.
I was not really involved in the organizing. I brought a lot of the tables, and we're helping Congress. So we're with Real Progressives. We're a nonprofit 501c3, and we have a 501c4 for activism as well. So yeah, we're all about education, teaching people how economics works. We're told that taxes fund spending at the federal level is a straight line. So the biggest hurdle is that people don't have to die across the world, across the nation, to get this to happen.
Would you like to talk about your involvement in state?
Do you have questions, or do you want a few minutes to prepare?
Oh no, I can go.
Okay, great.
Where are we going?
Got it.
No. Picked up pretty. Okay. Talk about real progressive default.
Hey man, the more I do this, it's like the more I really. Yep. All right, gang, I guess we're going to be starting in about 10 minutes. Please be patient. It'll be worth it. So, what's new, Steve?
Well, brother, we're listening to some smooth jams and watching you guys run in circles, man. Can't wait for the show to start, brother.
Yeah, it's only like 100 degrees here, man.
That's cool.
So, Steve, when I talk like this, are you able to hear me pretty clearly?
I hear you pretty clearly. Yep.
Who knows, man? Maybe we'll get some healthcare. People will see us out here. Get the word out. Feel sorry. Government will say, hey, man, we can do it. We know MMC. You're just playing.
I'm just gonna get up there and talk.
That would be Commie John. and cold cash hold. The dulcet tones.
All right, guys, I just wanted to throw this out here real quick. We are having a couple other Medicare for All events going on throughout the country. One's in Washington. And I guess it's kind of a big deal because apparently it's Washington's kind of significant. It's where many of the first people split off from a national event. They're doing their state thing or whatever. And we could get into that, but we're not going to. There's also one in Atlanta, Georgia. I think they're doing some mutual aid stuff and bringing attention to the Norfolk Southern issue because, again, really, I mean, what Norfolk Southern did in East Palestine, I mean, corporations are doing everything. If you think it's not coming to your neighborhood anytime soon, you're kidding yourself. And if you think, wow, it would never happen to me, the government would fix it or somebody, but they won't. We're on our own. There's also a virtual event in Indiana today starring Mom Red, I heard. And man, we get done with this and I can watch that. Also, you don't know, this is the third year we've done the Medicare for All event. First year it was in Washington, D.C., and it ended up spreading, and we had about 60 different cities that were doing marches. And last year it was just in D.C., but it was a little bit bigger. And I don't know, man. Hoping people start waking up and realizing that we need to get together to fix a lot of things. Healthcare is a pretty big one, man. There's shit's broken, man. Tell you what, I'm gonna go get the speaker ready and we're about to start, so just hang on to your seats. I see this guy, I recognize him. How's it going, buddy? Oh, it's good to see you. It's been a constant, man. Matt Lucene here, he's been at every one, and we always get together and have a good time. It's good stuff, man. You know, even if we don't get healthcare, we meet some cool people and get some fresh air, I guess. But not too close to East Palestine, because that air is not fresh.
So, but yeah, so 1%.
Right, our first speaker is going to be coming up. They're talking with a reporter at the moment. It'd be nice to get some mainstream time. Like, I've talked to a lot of people where I live, and they don't know what's going on. They're like, oh, I heard about that a couple months ago. That was old news, and that's all cleaned up, and people are good. You'd be surprised how many people think that that's all over, and it's been fixed up, and nothing to see here, but it sucks in this country that, you know, to get people to organize and understand what's wrong, it's almost, the system has to punch them in the face. You know, it has to completely bankrupt and ruin their life. Wow, you know, maybe those crazy cats down petitioning for healthcare. I had something going. We should have been listening. So depressing. Sorry. I'm trying to entertain.
That's not that. Check it for. Oh, I just wondered. Fine. But my dog. No, but I was like, there's no one after I work at Queen with my dog. There are non-profit
Hey, gang. What's going to happen is Joy's going to come up here, introduce herself, and say a few words, I imagine. And then she's going to introduce the speakers. I believe we have 8 total. 6 from East Palestine and then a few
Get
others.
that camera back.
And then I'll come in at the end to wrap you up, drop an elbow of truth, and do all that kind of good stuff. So enjoy the show and let's get us some healthcare.
Get that camera right. All right.
Hey, Cole. Cole.
We can't hear her, by the way.
Yes, are you going
Hey,
first?
you need something?
We
Steve?
cannot hear her.
Hello? Okay. No problem, buddy. Just hop in when you're back.
Make sure that they're able to speak into that megaphone clearly, because it was bad.
Wait, say
man.
that one more time. I'm sorry.
Speak into the megaphone when talking, because it's not picking up, bud.
Josh, I think you were on the same news story.
I think so. Yeah.
Hi, Zach.
Nice to meet
But
you.
I saw you in on the end of the
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Steve, I'm having a hard time hearing you if you're talking to me. Just type it in the chat.
I thought it was you. I'm losing it. We have scheduled speakers, so I'm going to open this up for anyone to speak. Speak your mind. Go with your heart. Say anything you want. This is being live streamed on Real Progressive, and everyone's going to see this. This is time for you guys to say what is on your mind. We don't edit. We don't do anything like that. So I've had a lot of you on my show. That's how I've gotten to know many of you. And I knew I'd get emotional. It's just really special to interview so many of you and be able to be here in person to meet you. So I first started covering East Palestine the day it happened. And first, I have to thank the amazing EP team who has come from all over the country on their own dime to come here and help with this mutual aid. We have Zach and his mom from Chicago. We have St. Louis, Lauren. We have Tommy John and Cole are from Minnesota. And Wisconsin. I always get that wrong. But you guys talk very similarly. I'm from Harrisburg. My co-host Andrew, he's here from Boston. So all these people came out just to help. And while it's beautiful and I'm so proud of all of us, it's still really disheartening, and that all of us felt obligated to do this because our government absolutely does not care. These people have been no short of begging for help. As a journalist, I've been told everything from people are still bathing in bottled water, people are getting sick, people are having rectal bleeding, they're vomiting, they are getting asthma for the first time. These people have been sick, and many more are getting sick. This is something that is going to happen for decades to come. And the government, be it state, local, federal, has done nothing except belittle these people and make them feel like they can be discarded. And we're here to tell you, you are worth so much more. You are worth so much more than they want you to believe. This is a human rights issue. This is about healthcare. This is about clean environment. This is about clean water, clean air. This is about housing for all. This is a human rights issue. All of it. All of you are human, part of humanity who deserve basic, fundamental human rights. And it's time for people to get some empathy, get some sympathy, stop taking all their freaking corporate donor money, stop bending the knee to Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern, if you're watching, which I highly doubt you are, I think I can speak for many of us when I say nobody cares about your stupid freaking $25 million amphitheater. No one cares about your stupid Easter egg hunts, your carnivals, your everything, fireworks that are giving people PTSD, stop trying to placate these people with photo ops. They need real, fundamental difference in their lives. They are sick, they are suffering, they are living in hotels with children and with elderly parents. Why is this happening? Because a multi-billion-dollar corporation does not care, and all too many people are not holding them accountable. If you are not holding them accountable, you are an enabler, period. You are letting this happen, and you are perpetuating it. So not everybody can just, come across the country and help. But this is, if you have a heart and you have empathy, you can hit the share button on social media. You can talk to your friends about this. This is not going to be an isolated incident. And you know what? Last week it happened in Philly. Thankfully, not to this magnitude. But what happened? They were evacuated. What happened in EP? The neighbors went to each other's doors to tell them they needed to leave. These people couldn't even go to these doors to tell people, hey, this is toxic, you gotta get out. No, they weren't worth that. Actually, let's think about it. They are worth it, but they were too scared to go themselves, even with protective gear. So that should tell you something. So this is incredible. This is why we're here. This is, I could not have done this. Well, first of all those who made the donations, I absolutely cannot believe the amount of donations raised and the amount of kindness people have shown. But also the Unity Council. You guys have my heart. I've never been to Ohio in my life, ever. Actually, many of us haven't. And I, aside from being a journalist, I didn't know people affected by this. So this is because you guys have been so amazing, and I've never seen such solidarity. I've been an activist for many years, and I have never felt so connected to these people. It's so much heart, it's so much fight, and they're warriors, and they need to be, unfortunately, because when others don't fight for you, you have two choices: give up or step up, and they have stepped up, and they have been amazing. So, thank you all again. I think we're going to open it up with this Jeff Bernard.
Hi. My name is Jess Connard, and I'm a resident of East Palestine, Ohio. Generationally, my family has lived there for a really long time. And recently, this week, actually yesterday, I published an op-ed in Newsweek, and so that's what I've decided to read for you guys today. The Ohio train derailment is not a comeback story. It's a grim warning. It's about an industry that values profit over people and the environment, and a regulatory system that has failed to keep those industries in check. There's an undeniable connection between this disaster and the plastics industry. The production of PVC plastic depends on transporting harmful chemicals like vinyl chloride. The insatiable demand for plastics has driven the need for increased transport of these hazardous substances, placing communities near rail tracks under constant threat. As company profits soar, our communities are left to grapple with the aftermath of their negligence. My community learned the hard way when a train derailed with devastating consequences. We witnessed the callousness that the rail industry is capable of when they laid tracks over our poisoned soil only one day after conducting what is likely an illegal open burn of vinyl chloride voluntarily spilled from not one but 5 rail cars. A decision we are now learning may not have been necessary. My message to President Biden is that it is time to declare an emergency in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia for those who have felt the impact of this train derailment. My home is just outside the shockingly small evacuation zone. I watched from my home as an ominous mushroom cloud expanded and crept over the place where I grew up. The sweet, thick chemical and chlorine smells left an unwanted film in my mouth as it intruded into my home and sent warning signals to my brain. We were advised to shelter in place, and that smell didn't mean we were going to be harmed. The Unified Command reported on March 31st that residents were having acute health issues. Many residents still beg for improved indoor air testing as the horrid odors linger inside and outside, even almost 6 months later. My town's freedoms have been hijacked, and along with it, the narrative. It's astonishing how good Norfolk Southern is at running a public relations campaign aimed at distracting from the core issues at hand, such as indoor efficient air testing and early cancer screening opportunities. Declaring an emergency now, not only for Ohio, but for Pennsylvania and West Virginia residents in the tri-state area will set a precedent to ensure the freedoms of my fellow Americans will not be held hostage at the next derailment. My young children who just experienced a pandemic are now asking again if their school is safe or if they will die if we continue to live in East Palestine. And yet this could have been prevented. We have been left to beg for reimbursement for relocation, loss of income, related medical expenses, and clean air and water filtration systems from the companies that caused this mess. The offender's financial assistance has come without clear criteria, length of time, or guidelines. We need to know that our lifelong investments in our home and our community will be protected. I am grateful for the recent National Transportation Safety Board investigative hearing, but the people of East Palestine have more urgent needs. They literally started the crime investigation before they treated the victims. We are still bleeding. Literally, our bodies have suffered from nosebleeds, headaches, respiratory illness, intestinal irritability, and eye irritation. Community members are now experiencing neurological symptoms and rectal bleeding, enough to consider a blood transfusion. If President Biden, if you take action now, you will save lives. If you delay, people will die. We know the cancer clusters are coming, and we deserve the same protections as the people of Libby, Montana, who are now all eligible for Medicare following one of the worst asbestos exposure incidents in history. We need environmental testing and indoor home monitoring, and we need it all to be conducted by a third party rather than by the company that poisoned us. Yes. We cannot continue relying on Norfolk Southern to be honest about how bad the situation is and how much this disaster might actually cost my community. After significant pressure, Governor Mike DeWine did ask the president to declare a disaster. President Biden, now is your opportunity to prioritize community needs over the malfactors report. There is time to hit reset. In the meantime, my family will watch the trains roll through our town, many carrying potential hazards on behalf of the plastics industry. We can't help but hope that the same urgency applied to restoring their operations will be directed towards addressing our community's health and well-being. President Biden, I implore you to prioritize human health. Prioritize and take decisive action to prevent another East Palestine. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for Jeff. So I guess, I don't know if I'm like less, I don't know, but like I kind of feel like Biden, you effed up regardless. It's been over 5 months. We're going on almost 6 months. This is your legacy. Even if you stepped in today, it's not enough. You can't even bother to come see these people. Why? Are you scared because it's unhealthy? Probably, and I don't blame you because it probably is. Well, what's your excuse? And to Pete Buttigieg, you come in here for a few photo ops, and now you're on TV saying that you need congressional approval to do things. No, you don't. Stop lying to people. There's something that's called executive orders that Biden could actually do with a stroke of a pen. The fact of the matter is, it's always corporations over people. Period. Biden, this is to you. Do not ever demand anyone vote for you when you are standing there watching people suffer. This is on you. This is your legacy. So my next speaker is Jamie. She is my soul sister. She is the very first person from East Palestine who reached out to me. And shout out to Lewis from Status Quo, who connected me with her. One of pretty much the only other channels besides mine who actually covers East Palestine. Because there's a lot of shiny objects that people would rather talk about, and their viewers don't demand they talk about substance, so they don't. So shout out to Lewis, you do an amazing job, and to Max at Real News. Both of you guys have been rock stars. But yeah, Jamie, my girl.
All right, take a break there. Stop.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that came in today, that is here to support us, that brought mutual aid to help our families. It's a great day when we can depend on our fellow Americans when we can't depend on our own government. Other communities have been bringing water in. Other communities have been helping us when our own government has failed. So thank you to everyone here, and thank you, Joy. I didn't prepare a speech. It's been kind of busy. And when I saw Kyla and Eddie here, so excited to see each other, I thought that I would tell you their story. This is my daughter, Kyla. She'll be 4 soon, an only child. This is Eddie. Eddie is 4. He's the only child of Christina, who's now one of my good friends. I met her after the derailment, fellow advocate. They have become good friends. And this shows you what the future is going to need. These children are going to need the support of each other. We need to start connecting them now. We don't know what their future holds. We don't know what kind of medical problems these 2 little children right here are going to hold in the future. The burden should not be put on them to pay for their own medical expenses. They might not even be able to work. We don't know. And that's the saddest part about what's going on in our community. It's almost 6 months later. We still don't know what to clean our houses with. Do you put bleach on vinyl chloride? We don't know. We can't get those simple answers, let alone the answers to what is inside of our home. On February 14th, CTEC, who is the testers for Norfolk Southern, came into my basement, into my house that I refused to take my daughter into when they lifted this evacuation. We did not know what were in the creeks yet. We had not seen them manifest. They had just released 3 more chemicals the day before. When I asked about the creeks, go for a run, 7 steps from my front door. What chemicals are in these creeks? Has testing been done? we'll release the testing a little bit later. When I ask about the soil, the EPA doesn't think that the soil needs tested. What did they do to show us that we were safe? They walked through our house and they air tested. An air test that Mark Durno from the EPA later admitted could not test for butyl acrylate until it was 5 times the reportable limit. Other chemicals couldn't even be tested on. So what they did was send us back into our home with 0 testing. 0 testing. Norfolk Southern is a corporation. You almost expect them to be out for profit. They owed no loyalty to me and to my health concerns as an American citizen, but the EPA did. The EPA owed me testing of my home. While people in my town are applauding Norfolk Southern for this $25 million park, I'm helping a woman and her 83-year-old mother get out of their toxic home that had almost killed the mother. Half of our town is applauding this $25 million park when our homes still have not been tested. As soon as Norfolk Southern pulls out, we're going to be forced back into these homes. This is not fair as a United States citizen. Taxpayer money? I'm a taxpayer. And if another community was in the same situation that we're in, if their children were having nosebleeds, if their children were having blood coming out of their ears, if people had respiratory issues, skin rashes, rectal bleeding, I would be more than happy to give my taxpayer money to help those people if they were not being helped by the responsible party, Norfolk Southern. We can give money to other countries, but we're not going to support our own citizens. If I would have heard myself pre-February 3rd saying some of the things that I say now, talking about EPA cover-up, the government being owned by the railroad, I would think I was a crazy conspiracy theorist. This is what we are living. We are still suffering. This presidential declaration cannot wait. We are going to be forced back into our homes at any minute. This is for the health of the people, the health of our next generation. We need the government to listen. I'm tired of standing up here telling people the things that I'm saying and feel like we're being left alone. We're being left here to suffer, to watch our elderly getting sick, to watch our children inhaling vinyl fluoride, to test positive. So I'm asking President Biden to recognize this is not a red issue. This is not a blue issue. This could happen in any area of the United States that has railroad tracks running through it. This could be your community next time. So I am begging. I am desperate. I'm not too proud to beg at this point for the lives of my children, for my nieces, for all the children in our community. So I am begging you, Biden, please help us. I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce my oldest niece. This is Jenna. She's 17 years old. She's been taking after her Aunt Red and using her voice to speak about being a teenager during this difficult time. Okay.
So, usually, I'm not as emotional, but today it's hitting. I have anxiety, and it's just hitting bad today. I tested positive for the vinyl chloride, and ever since, I've been having troubles with anxiety, depression, And a lot of people don't really talk about this, and it's more like a female issue, but I'm gonna say it. When my monthly comes, my last period lasted for 3 weeks, and I was so blood out. I literally looked like I was pregnant because how blood I was, and the pain. I'm about to start right now, so I think I'm just saying that's probably why I'm emotional. But I'm saying this issue has never happened before, and the pain. I can't even get out of bed sometimes because how bad the pain is. And it affected me so bad. It seems like it just now hit me, I'm not gonna lie. My mom, we lost our home because of this. We're looking for a new home. We're having difficulties finding a new home. There's 3 of us, me and my sisters. My sisters also that are 13 tested positive for vinyl chloride. And my one, the little twin sister, Stella, that she's shy to speak, but I'm the big sister, I gotta speak for them. She is the highest out of all of us. And I'm just so afraid for our future because cancer already runs high in our family. And, well, I did, I wrote things down, but there's just so much. There's just so much, and I wish I had time to tell my full story of my sisters and other people, but we just don't. And above all, parents, really think what's right for your children. It's at this point, it's not really about, just do what's right for your children because this is their future and their lives. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Ferguson. I've lived in East Palestine my entire life. My family moved in 1970. My mother, my father, and my brothers and sisters. On February 3rd, our lives were derailed with that train. I have watched my community get sick. We have had to fight for everything, for honest testing that we have not got. We have begged Governor DeWine. He changed his phone number. We have went through so much. We have been raped by Norfolk Southern, and they continue to do that. And our government continues to allow them. Every home and every family has a different struggle. Some are very blessed, and at this moment, they're doing fine. And I pray that they continue to. I understand that they wanted things to become normal again. We all do. None of us want to be out of our homes. I had to tell my mother every day that it wouldn't be today. I'm sorry, Mom, maybe tomorrow. She's 82 years old, and my home's never going to be safe again. There was a pocket of vinyl chloride that sat in the tunnel for over a month directly below my home. They want to do a cleaning of the home. That creek is still contaminated. When a home takes on creek water, our government needs help. Our EPA needs direction and guidance. This is too much for them. They've not dealt with this before. they need to step up and ask for the help. We need President Biden to provide our health care. We need safe homes. We need honest, reliable testing. We need the railroad to help. They have been helping my family. They paid for a home for my family to live in, but they couldn't tell me for how long. It's been 6 months, and I'm waiting to see if Alan Shaw will make it right and stop making my mother wonder where her home for the rest of her days is going to be. 6 months, and every day we've been raced by that railroad over and over and over, and we've watched our children, we've watched our loved ones. It is time to do the right thing. Alan Shaw, please make this right to those of us that deserve closure and to have healing start. Do not make us wait another day. You know what your plan is. Please step up and do the right thing. Governor DeWine, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. President Biden, I'm praying for you. That's the only way is through God that these people are going to finally realize what is going on. It'll be God's love that heals my community. It will not be the EPA. It will not be the railroad. It will be God's love. As hard as that may sound to say, pray for them. They need it. They need to know. Thank you. I just realized I don't think I even introduced myself. My name is Joy Marie Mann. I was just kind of presumptuous because I've met so many of you. Yeah, so Chrissy, she's a very special person. I had her on my show several times, and she's just a beautiful soul, and she feels things, not just for herself, but for other people. And my God, do we need more of that? And, you know, she's been through some stuff because of daring to speak out. Jamie has been through a whole mess of stuff for, you know, having the audacity to actually speak out. So I want people to really comprehend, especially the people watching who don't live around here, that there is retaliation beyond words. Jamie has had actual politicians talk about her, tell her, well, I knew you weren't going to vote for me anyway. Things like that. And it's so undemocratic. It's disgusting. And, you know, speaking of the testing, vinyl fluoride testing is $700. Insurance does not pay for any of that. I'm sorry. So that needs to be free, period. That's one demand. Another demand is they need free home testing immediately done by a third party. Another demand is these people need water. We all know that. So we demand that water be provided to people's doorsteps every 2 weeks. Cases. We demand $2,000 stimulus per house, including for the past 6 months. This is bare minimum. This is what people do in other countries. We're the richest country in the world. Well, then why are you allowing people to suffer? Because that's what's happening. They're letting it happen. And people like this are strong enough to say, you know what? You have the money and you have the actual power. but the power of the people is stronger than the people in power.
Hello, my name's Darren Gamble, and I've lived in East Palestine for 60 years, pretty much in the same house. And in the last 6 months, I've been gone more from that house than I have been in the last 60 years. And, when this all started, it was trust the science, which I agreed with. But, I guess they didn't trust the science when 2 days after they burnt that mess, that, oh, it's safe to go home. And now, trust the science. Well, the science is there. Everybody's testing positive, and nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, when the CDC says, well, we don't know how to get rid of vinyl chloride, but we know how to treat cancer. I mean, to me, that should be the end of it right there. When the CDC said, you're going to get cancer. I usually didn't talk much, but I've met a bunch of amazing people through Unity Council that has really given me a better look at humanity. Although looking at government somewhere more diminished than it was before this happened, it's just unbelievable to me that people all over the country know how bad this is and are trying to help us out. And our own government said, "Well, it's safe. Go ahead." It's just, to me, it's unbelievable. 6 months later, here we are, same place as it's February 3rd. And it's just, I don't know where to go. I don't know what else we can do. We've been to the State House. We knocked on doors. Everybody's sick. Test results come back. It's still nothing. And, like Jamie said, applaud Norfolk Southern for building a new park. I mean, come on. I don't know what can possibly people are missing here that doesn't let this, be the story that it should be. So, we definitely need free health care for life. I have 9 granddaughters. I'm already 60 in 20 years. Really, I don't really care what happens to me in 20 years. I might say that now at 19, I might think different. But, all my 9 grandchildren, they deserve to have life. I mean, we all live in this community because it's laid back and, it's an easy place to live. I mean, it's kind of Appalachia, but, this is home. And it doesn't matter what you think. This has gone on long enough. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know what else we could possibly do to bring more light to this situation. I mean, we have these rallies, nobody listens. The tests, nobody listens. So with that, I'm closing, just saying that I'm just as unsure today as I was February 4th. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Kemmer, and I actually live in Darlington, Pennsylvania. Everybody else here is from East Palestine, but I live in Darlington, which is about 4.5 miles from where the train derailed. The night of the derailment, my family suffered from irritated eyes, burning nose and throat. When they did the chemical release, it got much worse. We were all nauseated, headaches, the burning eyes, burning nose, burning throats got worse. I have 4 children, ages 4, 8, 16, and 18. We've been sick ever since. So it's been 6 months now with continued symptoms. Myself and my 8-year-old were newly diagnosed with asthma. My 4-year-old who has asthma his asthma has been uncontrolled. We've had to add several medications, including new inhalers that insurance doesn't cover. So we're paying out of pocket for that inhaler, which is $160 for a new inhaler, which, of course, this is related to the train derailment that we believe. It's just ridiculous that we're paying for these things. We live in a rural community in Darlington. Most of us have well water. We've been unable to get testing because we're outside of the 1 mile radius, the imaginary zone, because chemicals apparently don't know that they can't travel past this imaginary line. So we can't get the EPA in to test our water or our soil. We've had to independently test our well water, which we tested immediately after the train derailed back in February, and that was $350 out of pocket because, again, EPA won't test for us. Our governors won't listen, that we are still suffering and we are suffering side effects. They believe that residents in Pennsylvania are not affected by this, but I'm here to tell you that we are definitely affected by this. Even to this day, we still suffer side effects. I'm also a stage 4 kidney cancer survivor. I have treatment every month, and I have to worry that these chemicals are going to make my cancer worse, or worse, that one of my kids are going to end up with cancer from these chemicals. I also have to worry that my daughters may end up with infertility problems, or that my sons will end up with infertility problems. I have to worry that they won't be able to have children someday. It's a huge burden to carry for a parent. I have anxiety about this pretty much every day. We also have railroad tracks that run directly behind our house. Pretty much everybody in America can say that they have railroad tracks close to their house. And we need federal regulations on these railroads, and they need to stay in place. Norfolk Southern needs to be paying us for our medical insurance and for these tests that I'm paying out of pocket, because it's not cheap. And being a cancer survivor and not working, I'm on a limited budget, and I really can't afford to be paying for all these tests out of pocket. It should be Norfolk Southern paying for insurance for all of us. It's not fair, and we really need the media attention to keep the focus on this, so that we can get the help that we need. And that's all that I have.
Hi, my name is Zuza Jennis, and I'm from East Palestine. I want to thank Joy again and everyone who made today happen. Really grateful for the opportunity to get people together. So I'm here today because I love my son, Maddox Graydon. He's 9 years old. He's a Minecraft fanatic and loves playing outside. Unfortunately, he also suffers from asthma, chronic inflammation, and other health conditions. When we moved back to East Palestine last year, we never anticipated the horrifying incident that would occur on what turned out to be our last night in our home, the infamous Norfolk Southern train derailment. Despite trying to shelter in place, we were exposed to toxic smoke in the early hours of the morning. Unsure of what was even burning, my primary concern was my son's health. As he began experiencing difficulty breathing and vomiting, we immediately realized the severity of the situation and evacuated. In the aftermath, my son developed rashes on his face, and I experienced various symptoms like nausea, chest pain, headaches, and burning eyes whenever I attempted to return home. These reactions have forced us to reside in a hotel for the past 6 months. As a mother, researching the potential long-term chemical effects filled me with great anxiety. Considering that both my son and I have compromised immune systems, we are at a heightened risk for experiencing adverse effects. The CDC has recently highlighted these facts, yet the issues persist without any action being taken. Several months ago, Maddox tested positive for vinyl chloride poisoning, but our concerns have been dismissed by doctors and authorities alike. I don't want to wake up each morning worrying about the consequences of this exposure. I don't want to think about whether I'll live long enough to meet my grandchildren, or whether my son will even be able to have children of his own. We cannot reverse the damage already caused, but we can move forward in a proactive way. My family, along with all of those affected by the East Palestine train derailment, deserve lifetime health care. Some of the most severe side effects, such as cancer, may take decades to manifest. We won't know for a long time. Therefore, we need monitoring and intervention to prevent further progression while it is still a possibility. The responsibility for the costs associated with rectifying this situation lies rightfully with Norfolk Southern, not with my family. And if they refuse, then our government needs to step up and protect its citizens utilizing laws like 1881A. surviving has already been difficult for many in our area. It's just a compounding problem. We're in an industrial area. We already get polluted. We just went through COVID. People haven't bounced back yet. We're not ready for this. I don't think anybody can be ready for this. The government in Norfolk certainly weren't. This train derailment seems to be the cherry on top, and I fear what will come next. The agencies overseeing the situation need to ensure justice now. We should not have to sacrifice our health in order to bear the burden of these negligent actions. And then I also wanted to shout out to Unity Council for being amazing people and fighting through all this bullshit while we suffer. We have a little table set up over here with some flyers about who we are, and if you want to sign up for our newsletter, just to let you guys know what we've been working on to try to get our lives back on track. Can't rely on anyone else, apparently. Thanks again.
So she brings up a great point. You know, I was talking to a few people, and we saw a few little bits here earlier. These are babies. Imagine not even being in kindergarten yet and going through 3 years of a pandemic, and now this. Their lives have been taken from them. They need to go out and play and have fun, but instead, they're stuck inside. They're suffering medically. It's so inhumane. This is violence. There is no other word. It's violence. So shout out to all the amazing moms and dads I have spoken with who are just doing absolutely everything in their power to take care of their kids, their future grandkids, nieces, nephews. You guys are so inspiring. I absolutely adore every single one of you, and you guys inspire me every day. Speaking of Darlington, my friend Jenna and I, not sure where she is. So Jenna is in Pittsburgh, and the past 3 days, her and I have just, made several trips to Sam's Club and all those things. And so, yeah, we dropped off a pallet of water and a whole bunch of groceries at the Chi's. So if you guys are in Darlington area and you need supplies as well, we dropped a bunch of stuff there too. But shout out to Dr. Rick and Tammy Chai, because they have been so adamant with fighting for these things. And a lot of people, he's modest, but a lot of people consider him a hero because he's one of the only doctors who will even prescribe a prescription to get a vinyl chloride test. Why is that a prescription? Why is it $700? And what are you going to do with these people who are testing positive? So they spend the money, they find out they test positive, and now what? You're doing nothing. So this PTSD, depression, anxiety, these people are going through it. They don't even have health care. They can't even seek necessary therapy or counseling or anything they would do if they had health care. This is so unacceptable. And I really appreciate every single person who is here today, including media, to be able to listen to these people because their stories are so often not heard. So thank you all so much for joining.
All right, I'm going to apologize because I'm loud to begin with, so no one should give me this power. Hi, everyone. My name's Hillary Flint. I'm a cancer survivor, chronic illness advocate, and now an environmental activist. I'm the 4th generation to live in my home in Eden Valley, Pennsylvania, and on this exact date 3 years ago, I was declared cancer-free. Cancer wasn't the first medical condition to ruin me. By the time I was in kindergarten, I had severe joint pain, fatigue, migraines. Everything seemed to be too much for me. Light, food, noise, car rides. If there was a sickness going around, I caught it first and I had it last. No doctor in my small town could figure out what was wrong with me, and I was told that pain was all in my head. As a child of an addict, medical professionals often thought my symptoms were a ploy to indulge my mother's addiction. I was labeled dramatic, oversensitive, and lazy by those around me. And that's a narrative I believe for most of my life. I ended up going away to college in Canada where I saw how healthcare should be, where I found myself in my voice, but something kept holding me back. I'd have to take entire semesters off because of pain. I'd have 4 good weeks and then 6 bad ones. I went back and forth between living the life I'd always dreamed of and watching all of my friends learn, grow, and explore while I was in bed. My mental health was crumbling, and eventually, in my junior year of college, so did my body. After a series of mysterious illnesses that cost me my gallbladder, my appendix, my tonsils, my adenoids, and part of my intestines and stomach, I knew it was time to find real answers. After decades of figuring out what was going on with me, a doctor finally diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, Raynaud's, Sjogren's, endometriosis, IBS, and severe anemia. Most recently, I was diagnosed with the heart condition POTS, and now they think I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and MCAS. All of these pre-existing conditions actually ended up hiding my cancer for a year, and that then cost me my left kidney and a bunch of lymph nodes. It was then I found out I had a gene mutation that causes cancerous and non-cancerous tumors. Since then, I've lost a paranasal tumor in my nose to surgery, and I live with a growing spinal tumor. I stand here today with over 50 surgical scars across my body and a lot less organs than the average person. But living in constant pain wasn't the worst of my burdens. It was trying to pay for them. As an adult, my direct medical costs were over $300,000. I probably spent more time negotiating my medical debt than actually being in a hospital. I've lost opportunities to further my education and my career because of illness. I've had to sell things that I worked hard for just to pay for basic medical care. I moved back home at the age of 30 just to recover from the financial burden of being a sick person. And then, unfortunately, a train derailed less than 5 miles from my house. Over 150 million Americans suffer from at least one chronic disease, and 30 million people are like me and have more than 5. Those same Americans pay 5 times more for direct healthcare costs than their healthy counterparts. Cancer alone cost the United States over $200 billion this past year. If you want to stimulate the economy, put that money into healthcare for each and every individual. Instead of spending my time negotiating with predatory insurance companies, I could have started my own business. Instead of paying for life-saving care, I probably could have bought a house by now. And just imagine how many slices of avocado toast I could purchase if I didn't pay hundreds of dollars in prescription costs per month. We can't work if we're sick. We can't reproduce if we're sick. And we can't live to spend if we're sick. I want my tax dollars to go towards healthcare for myself and others, not so that $2 billion companies can have billion-dollar tax breaks. So here's what I'm asking my country. If you aren't going to hold these corporate conglomerates accountable for poisoning your citizens, then you better take care of the victims. And that starts with Medicare for all.
So really quick, for those of you guys who don't know, I actually 3 years ago, I found out I have a really rare disorder where overnight I became 85% blind. I have a cane over there, but thanks to my comrades, I haven't needed it because they've been kind of escorting me around. But being, 85% blind, I refuse to stop being an activist. And this is why. These people inspire me. So I'm going to be straight up. If I can go out of state and do all this blind, some people really need to step up. Seriously. So next, I want to have Zach come up. Zach has been a comrade for over a year. He first, we did a rally and march together last year in DC. And so he flew out with his incredible mom, Jackie, the most incredible, supportive, amazing mom ever, who is so proud of him. It's beautiful. And they came out to DC. He gave his first speech, and everyone was blown away. He was 17 years old. He just graduated high school. And he is the kind of person that is going to change this country. So give it up for Zach.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Zach Schimmel, and I'm an 18-year-old organizer from the Chicago area. I would like to start by saying that it is truly an honor to be here today speaking with the resilient people of East Palestine and the surrounding area. Throughout the entire train derailment disaster, you have stayed committed to fighting for yourselves, for your community, and for the accountability of those who allowed this to happen. And our rally today is just one more example of that. And there is nobody who understands the importance of Medicare for All more than the people of East Palestine. After the corporate-produced environmental disaster that took place here, the people were left with nothing. Your health was put in danger, and the government who is supposed to work for us was nowhere to be found. Now, the illnesses that were caused by the negligence of Norfolk Southern and the corporate corruption of our government will be not only a physical, but also a financial burden. Because the private healthcare industry does not care whether you're sick. They only care about one thing, and it's that you line their bottomless pockets with more and more profit. But this profit-first model is not only found in the healthcare industry, it's found in the rail industry as well. In 2022, Norfolk Southern made almost $9 billion in profit, while in 2023, they proved the careless attitude they hold towards the rest of our society. The only mission of big business is profit. And the idea we've been fed for so long that what's best for business is best for the people is simply a self-serving attempt to keep us from waking up and fighting back. And in fact, it's actually quite the opposite. Wherever you look, the business-first model is not serving the interests of the people, but it is only serving the interests of big corporations and the capitalist class. So now it is up to the working class of this country to usher in a new economic system, a system that prioritizes collective ownership and common prosperity rather than private profits, and a system that seeks to free the American economy of the corrupting influence of business and seeks to build an economy that works only to improve the lives of working class Americans. As Americans, we are told that we have a choice in our political system. Isn't it interesting then that Democrats and Republicans alike agree on all the issues I've brought up so far today? Both Democrats and Republicans support privatization and deregulation in healthcare and rail. Both Democrats and Republicans relentlessly back the neoliberal economic agenda that has failed Americans time and time again. And both Democrats and Republicans are ultimately owned and controlled by the ruling class and not by the American people. And if you're still falling for the illusion of democracy, then I tell you to follow the money. Both parties have taken money from the private healthcare industry, the private rail industry, the war lobby, and every other special interest group which seeks to back the power structure of the ruling class with no regard for the people. So let's face it, the political system in this country is nothing more than an oligarchy, with an oligarch class who buys out both sides of our elections to ensure that no matter who wins, they're the ones who remain in real power. But today we declare that we, the people, can see through the illusion. We're no longer falling for their two-party trick, because we don't care whether there's one party, two parties, or 10 parties. What we want is to finally have a government that works for us. So how do we work towards a day when we not only have a single-payer healthcare system, when we not only have a nationalized rail industry, but towards a day when we achieve the ultimate goal of building a true people's America? It's simple. We must unite the working class.
That's it. That's right.
It is no coincidence that the corporate media, the establishment politicians, and the ruling class as a whole place so much emphasis on obscure culture war issues that have no impact on our everyday lives. It's because for them, having an underclass of Americans who are divided is very beneficial to the status quo. The more they can divide us up over issues of identity and social culture, the easier it is for the capitalists to run out the back door with all the money and all the power. So it's up to us, the people, to slam that door. And where we're standing today would be traditionally considered a conservative-dominated area. But what our rally should show is that when it comes to the role of government, when it comes to economics, and when it comes to oligarchy, it's not about liberals versus conservatives. It's about the people against big corporations, oligarchs, the establishment, and every other sector of the ruling class who has taken advantage of us for far too long. But the time will come when we are in power. And when we are, we will hold accountable every member of that ruling class. And we, the people, will prevail to total power and absolute victory. To put it in the most simple terms possible, if we hope to win Medicare for all, if we hope to get justice for East Palestine, and if we hope to build a people's America, we must drop the corporate-backed culture war and pick up the people's class war. Because when 300 million working-class Americans come together and fight back around our shared class interests, the ruling class stands zero chance. So by harnessing the collective power of the American people, we will build an America that works for us. And although the road will not be easy, Americans have never backed down from the challenge to build something better. So together, let's begin forging the path to a people's America. An America where healthcare is a human right. An America where our economy is shaped for the collective benefit rather than private greed. And an America where our government finally works by and for the American people. Together, if we have the strength to pursue it, Medicare for all, justice in East Palestine, and a people's America are inevitable. Because if history has shown us anything, it's that the American people united will never be denied. Thank you.
Speak the truth.
I mean, what can I even say to top that? I got nothing. I got nothing. But, so, and Edward helped us unload water and groceries yesterday in Darlington. He's a super
He also wanted to tell everybody something that he's learned to say through all of this. He's been going around with us and learning a lot of stuff through this train derailment. Which is one of the chemicals that's in the creek and one of the chemicals that you can smell all through East Palestine. So my name is Cynthia Seitz. I live in South Beaver Township, Pennsylvania, which is part of Darlington, and I'm 5.8 miles from the derailment site. I think it is safe to say that at this time on February 3rd, any of us had even a thought that we would be here today, standing up for what we feel is important for our futures and the futures of our children. The events that occurred between that evening and February 7th have changed every life in East Palestine and the surrounding areas. And what we went through continues to affect many of our lives nearly 6 months later. From the day before the vent and burn operation was conducted in East Palestine, my family has been sick. At that time, we had no idea what effects vinyl chloride would have on our bodies, and that was just one of the chemicals we have come to know we have been exposed to. The multiple chemicals we have been exposed to are known to cause birth defects, infertility, and cancer, and that's just a few of the effects on our bodies. Being sick for 5 months when you have never been sick that long before tells you that something has invaded your body. My 4-year-old son, who you've all just met, has not had as many symptoms as myself, nor has my father, of whom we live with. However, I'm now faced with wondering if my dad will be here as long as he could have been. He already has one lung and a paralyzed diaphragm pre-train derailment. What else is to come for him? I now have to wonder when will be his last breath. Will it come sooner or later? I also am forced to think, will my son see his 16th birthday or his 21st? Will I have to experience him having cancer and a doctor telling me that they have no way to save him? Will my son, as a teenager, instead of being a kid with happy memories, have to watch his own mother fade away in a hospital bed? How is he supposed to say goodbye? How could I say goodbye? Why should we have to be faced with this? To this day, the creeks still shimmer like rainbows. The smell of chemicals still blow through the air. I can still smell them at my house. We still cough, still have nosebleeds, rashes, and sores, yet we are told everything is back to normal, if they ever told us things weren't. Dioxins are ubiquitous. Just a few days ago, Scott Smith, an independent researcher, had said this, and that these symptoms we are having are not ubiquitous. He is right. Where in this state or Pennsylvania do you find another community sick like we have been for this long? For myself and my child, before the derailment, we hardly ever went to the doctor, aside from checkups, even throughout the pandemic. I have never gone anywhere in this world that made me feel the way I have felt in my own home and in multiple communities in our area in the last 6 months. The CDC says that they do not have a way to treat our exposures now, but they know how to treat the cancers we could get later. This is appalling. As a single mother, the statistics are low that I would ever have the money to pay for unexpected medical bills to treat sicknesses that we may have in the future. I do not have a way to bury my father or my child, nor do they have the money to pay for any of this for me. As the months have passed, we have sought out answers for our medical problems, been to multiple doctors, fought for prescriptions for testing that we were told we couldn't get, paid for expensive testing out of our own pockets just to see what is in our bodies, paid for prescriptions to heal our illnesses, to no avail. Where do we turn? For months, we have screamed out from the hills for people to hear us, to help us, but it seems as though our pleas fall on deaf ears. When will anyone start to care about our health? When will they stand up for us and say that things are not right? We needed proper medical care in February. We need proper medical care today, and we need proper medical care in the future, not just for those who are sick now, but for those who may also become sick later. We did not ask for our lives to be derailed on February 3rd. We do not deserve to have them derailed for the rest of the time we have left in this world. We do deserve to be treated like human beings, and we deserve Medicare for all.
So you see how much of this revolves around the insurance industrial complex. This is all about money, all of it. People, that's the only reason we don't have national improved Medicare for all. That's the only reason. Well, that, and also because politicians would rather take that money from those corporations than help we the people. You know, some of these people's stories are just mind-blowing. And it's so incredible you guys have shown up today to listen to them. Because at the very least, if nothing else comes from today, we were able to share their stories and hope that some people will finally listen. Because this is not over at all. And I will promise, absolutely promise, I don't know if I can raise the money again to do mutual aid, like on this scale, but I will be back. I promise you. Even if that's just to do a rally, I promise you. I will not give up. None of us should. So next I want to introduce Timothy Young.
Sorry, y'all. I've never used one of these before. But my speech is written down. I'm not, so I'm just gonna do that. Thank you. So my name is Timothy Dieter, and I cannot stand by and watch as my community is crushed by the weight of exorbitant medical costs. I live 1.6 miles away from the derailment, and I'm here today as a lifelong and current resident of East Palestine. My family has been in the area as well for at least 100 years or more, with very close ties to Beaver County. I don't know if any locals remember me or not, but I was a pharmacy technician at Rite Aid in East Palestine for a few years before and towards the beginning of the pandemic. I then went to work for Walmart pharmacy in Salem and stayed there until late 2022. During that time, I became a nationally certified pharmacy technician. I'm not here today to count your meds, though, or to call your insurance. So please don't ask. But with that experience, I am by no means a medical expert, but I have watched patients suffer due to medical costs. People I got to know and love, and that is unfair. And what happened to us, those affected by the derailment, that's also unfair. I have always supported Medicare for all because I have watched prescription costs harm my community members to a life-threatening degree. What's the medical bill going to look like in 10 years when we all get cancer? What other added costs will we have as a result from the health effects from this derailment? I've watched as so many people I got to know and love lose so much because of their medical bills, sometimes because of cancer or other long-term illnesses. I do not want to see that happen
to my community and to everyone I know and love who's affected. We don't know what these chemicals are going to do to us, but we do know some of them are carcinogens. We also need Medicare for all because I don't know how an already suffering community who can barely afford the medical bills as it is going to afford the exorbitant medical costs after we start to see the health effects from this toxic derailment. Norfolk Southern has already robbed us. They've robbed us of our safety. They've robbed us of our health. And we are going to be robbed again if we do not have Medicare for all for us. Thank you very much, y'all.
So just to give a few statistics, over 250,000 people during this pandemic died because they had no health care. So also an average of 80,000 died every single year, even before and after the pandemic. So basically, these people are being discarded as expendable. And as someone who unexpectedly became disabled, within those 2.5 years, I received over $15,000 in medical debt, and I have insurance. Thanks, hi Mark. You're freaking awesome. So I'm not the only one. I'm one of millions. There are currently over 50 million people without insurance. Because this Affordable Care Act is subjective. Don't tell us what's affordable. That you're millionaires. We don't care what you think is affordable because people can't afford it. It's not that people don't want to pay their medical bills. It's because they can't. But again, profit supersedes all. And I will introduce our next speaker now. Camera.
Hello, my name is Tamara Freeze. I live 176 yards from the derailment, right on East Tiger Street. And I'm going to apologize now because I did not write anything in advance, so I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. I want to tell you about a couple of things that kind of make me angry through all of this. One is when you watch the news, especially now, from mainstream media, of course, you see the reports from the EPA that says that the remediation is complete and everything is fine with the continued air monitoring in our town. But what they don't tell you is that it takes the independent scientists that have come to our town, that have opened up their hearts and their pocketbooks to help us, are the ones who are actually doing the proper testing from the beginning of when they got here. The EPA has failed us in so many ways this entire time. The one thing that makes me very happy are people like Joy and people like the independent scientists and all the independent journalists that have stuck through this with us and continue to do so. And I want to say one more thing that really upsets me is when we had to all go through COVID, we were listening to DeWine 1, 2, 3 times a week, telling us where we were allowed to go, who we were allowed to spend time with, who we weren't allowed to spend time with, whether we were allowed to go to a funeral, a wedding, etc. When this all happened, he came up twice, maybe 3 times. The EPA told him everything was fine. Norfolk told him everything was fine. But if you also look at his fundraising campaigns, you can see clearly where his money comes from. So I want to know why he couldn't do for our little community and Pennsylvania and West Virginia the same thing he did during COVID protocol. Give us all a stimulus so we didn't have to go to Norfolk and my neighbor gets help and I don't.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I know Cole would like to speak. Are there any other EP or surrounding areas that would like people who have been affected by the train derailment who would like to speak? I definitely want as many of you to have your voice heard as possible.
Some people are shy.
Yeah, I get that.
Actually, some people that were on that stage today were shy when I first met them.
Yeah, it seems like everyone I've interviewed has said that they were not activists before this, but they felt obligated to become one. And that's beautiful. And if you're actually, Jamie, I would love if you close out. I'm just going to nominate you. Cole, I'm not sure where he went. Oh, so he's going to be speaking on behalf. No, I'm going to put it out. I want her to put the bar. Real Progressives is the one streaming today. There is information at one of the tables. I have been with them for, actually, I started my show 6 years ago next week with Real Progressives. So shout out to Steve and everyone at RP who, you know, paid for John and Cole to come out here and supports us and keeps endorsing our actions. And yeah, definitely check out the live stream. And they do a lot of great work, and also they support what we believe. They support Medicare for all. They support all these things we're fighting for. So it's important. I'm glad to be with that network. I'm glad because I do a lot of my shows on my own channel, but I wouldn't be with a network who did not support those things. So props to RP. And so I'm going to introduce Cole. He's just going to say a few words about RP.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up today. We really appreciate it. Those of you at home watching, we really appreciate it. I just want to ask a couple questions, and you don't have to answer because they're hypothetical, but how many derailments will it take? How many sick people will it take? How many deaths will it take before we stand up? How many across this country will it take before people finally realize that we have an issue that cannot be fixed with electoral politics? We have thousands of derailments every year across America. Every year. Half of those are hazardous materials. How many of those have you heard about? Anybody?
None.
We got one right here in East Palestine. That's not enough. There's a lot of people that don't even know these things happen in their backyard. They don't know that their land is being destroyed, that their water is being destroyed, that their air is being destroyed. Derailments aren't even a big part of it, really. I mean, that's very minor compared to all across America and the world that, you know, these corporations, and I wanted to say capitalism, has done to people. We can look at Iraq. 1 million dead from plutonium-rich shells over the years. We look in Vietnam, hundred thousands of people with Agent Orange, with birth defects. People still today, kids being born today with the eyes missing, with their heads deformed. Thousands and thousands. North Korea. You can look, I mean, there's millions and millions of deaths. Millions and millions of people being taken advantage of, being harmed. We are treated worse than animals. They will take their dog and pet him and love him. We are not even in that range, okay? Unfortunately, I hate to say it. I'm here to say the truth. People are dying, and they know it, and they do not care. They do not care. We are less than livestock because they will take care of their cows. They will feed them. They will, you know, their pigs, their chickens. What do they do for us? They let the corporations take control and deregulate the entire industries. And we can start with Abraham Lincoln. the guy that's our hero, right? We were supposed to love this guy, right? We were all taught, hey, that this guy, he stopped slavery. Yes, but what did he do before that? Does anyone know? He gave away the public infrastructure to the railroad companies all across America. He fought for all Union Pacific. He fought for all these guys. He was their lawyer. That's how he got to be president. That's why he got assassinated, because he changed his mind. Maybe. We don't know. But it started with him, and then it's gone down the hill from there. And in the last 40 years, starting with Carter and all the way up, every administration has literally deregulated everything. And you can look at every one of them. And I can name Democrats to be the very most influential in that. We can look at the Glass-Steagall Act, deregulated the banks, they caused the Great Recession. We can look at the transportation deregulation by Carter that may have led to this derailment. We can look at Obama's deregulation of everything. Everywhere down the road, every administration has caused this and let it happen intentionally. Intentionally. This is not an accident. This did not happen by accident. It doesn't happen by accident across the world. It doesn't happen by accident in these past days. It happens because they let it happen. And because we let it happen. Because we don't know any better. We're taught that we're the best country on earth. Well, we're taught that because they don't want us coming up there and taking their spots away. All right? We're the best country on earth. Then why is there 30 million people dying across the world for lack of basic services? Water, vaccines. Why is that happening? We have vaccines. We won't let them have the patents because that industry has taken over the government and every form of government. So in our real progressives, we try to teach people real history. We try to teach people real economics. And if anybody here has taken Economics 101, I'm sorry, but everything you've learned is a lie. College all the way up. If you're an economist here that was taught anywhere but like 3 schools in the world, sorry, but everything you learned was a lie. First of all, federal taxes do not fund spending. That's number one. If they tell you that we have to borrow money from China, they're lying. We borrowed money from a corporation, they're lying. They create this stuff with keyboard strokes at the Treasury. They tell the Treasury to put keyboard strokes into reserves, into bank accounts, into your account. That's it. That's the bottom line. Taxes are essentially deleted upon receipt by the federal government. Municipalities, states, and us, we're users of the currency. We cannot create it. If we do, it's called counterfeiting. We go to jail. If China creates it, loans it to us, they'll go to jail too. They can't create that shit. But so corporations can't create U.S. dollars. Only the U.S. government has the right to do that. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. So if we could all tell everybody that, then maybe we can get them to fund things that freaking matter and not wars across the world that are killing people, 800 military bases, and forcing austerity on the working class. So since the 1910s or so, I would say 99% of all the legislation that's come out of Washington has been to divide us, to keep us from uniting, to keep us poor, to keep us under wraps, and keep us fighting for survival. Every piece of legislation, there's nothing there for the people. Nothing. It's all there to divide us, and it goes back in history. And if you go to realprogressive.org right here, we have that history. We have 200 some odd podcasts filled with that history, filled with this knowledge of economics, real economics, that we are not taught in school. Our history has been suppressed by nationalizing our schools. Our public schools have been taken over. They're not only defunded, but they have been, our curriculums do not tell us what the real world is. They tell us dates, fictional stuff that doesn't even matter. Like, I don't need trigonometry right now. I've got a damn calculator in my pocket. Like everyone, you all got calculators in your pocket. We need to be learning the real truth. We need to be learning about class solidarity. We need to be learning about why they're trying to divide us, and we need to unite. We need to teach this message to everybody we know, because how many deaths is it going to take? How many funerals will it take? How many of your family members will it take before we finally realize? And unfortunately, I'm afraid it's going to take a lot more than it is today before people start to fight back, start taking this country over, and get it back to us. This young man right here said it loud and clear. We've got to stand up. We got to give it back to the American people. We have to, and not only the American people, but the world. We've been robbing from the global south for, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years. And then we're taught to hate those people. We're taught that we're better than all the people. How are we better? We're not. We got to, if we're not fighting for them, we are not any better than anyone. So let's join together. Let's remember what's going on here. And thank you for showing up today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to turn this mic over to Joy, and I'm going to call it a day. Thank you, guys.
So Cole brings up a great point. I definitely want to give a shout out to all the railroad unions, the workers who tried to tell all of us what was going to happen. They tried, and they were told, no, you cannot get these breadcrumbs. This did not have to happen. So shout out to all those railroad strikers and unions and everyone who has tried their best to stand in solidarity. Before we end this, can someone bring over the banner? The banner. So after Jamie closes it out, I want everyone who is comfortable to come up here. I want to take a really beautiful big group picture of everyone who came out today. But I do want to warn you, the banner does say no F given instead of, but it spells it out. So just a disclaimer. But I would love to get a photo of all of you and just to show the solidarity that's here today and how beautiful it is. I wasn't gonna cry again. So also, we have soda, juice, all this fun stuff, and water. And we went to Subway and got a whole bunch of subs. There's food. We still have water in the U-Haul cases, toys, all that stuff. Please take anything you want, you need. You guys deserve it. So all this stuff is yours. It was paid for by the people who donated out of their kindness and their support for all of you guys. So enjoy it all. Have some lunch. Talk to everyone. And like I said, after Jamie closes it out, let's take a badass picture.
So I just wanted to end this today with some lessons that I've learned since the derailment. The first one is the issues in our government today. We're supposed to be a government for the people, by the people. Before what's actually happening with the people on the ground gets to a federal level, it's now politics. We cannot continue to let our politicians be bought by big corporations. We need our politicians to come in and talk to the people to see what's actually going on in the communities when there are disasters like East Palestine. The second lesson that I learned was awareness of my environment. I've lived in East Palestine for, well, I'm up here speaking the truth, so I got to speak the truth. 46 years. Never once did it cross my mind that a train would derail in my community. What we would do if a train derailed in our community. I look to the incinerator, the old WTI. It'll always be WTI to us in the area, now called Hermitage Thermal. What, 15 miles from East Palestine? where they're incinerating this contaminated soil. You look a little bit further down the river, you'll see the cracker plant who deals with fracking. I had never opened my eyes to the environmental degradation in our area. Because we're poor, they prey on our communities. So to all the people across the United States and internationally, I ask you to be aware of your environment. Look around at what these dangers are. See if they're worth some of the plastics that we're using. Another thing I learned is that there are still good, decent human beings in this world. When a woman and her 83-year-old mother that I was helping getting out of their homes called me an angel. I'm not an angel. I'm a woman from a little small town with a big mouth. I'm not an angel. But they called me an angel because I did what any decent human being should have done.
Yes.
What all of you people here today are doing for us. Decent human beings. So for all the negative that we feel about Norfolk Southern, the derailment, just look around you and remember, this is what human beings should do for each other. This is what our politicians need to do for us. This isn't about money. This is about human lives. We are people and we need help. The last thing that I will leave you guys with is a shout out to Unity Council. I don't think that some of you guys even realize what we've done here by organizing the way that we have organized as a community. We've shown what it means to stand in solidarity with our neighbors in Negley, in Pennsylvania, all the surrounding communities that were affected. I've never been more proud in my life. Proud of my niece Jenna, who's 17 years old and used her voice. I'm proud of Christina. The first time I met Christina, she said, I can't do what you do. I'm shy. I can't go in front of a camera. I can't speak in front of a crowd. You saw what she just did up here. When we're doing it for our children, when we're doing it for our community, the same thing with Timothea back here. Shout out to Timothea. Miss, I really like public speaking. Well, guess what? You're going to get up there and speak because the more you do it, the better you get. This is coming from the woman who had to take the shot of Goldschlager in college before my speech class because I couldn't do public speaking. When it comes to speaking about what's right, what you believe in, it comes easily. So to all my Unity Council friends, to all those good people here that are doing the right thing, that are spreading that awareness, I thank every single one of you. You are literally saving lives. Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much.
She is fired. She is fired. So I'm going to give it to who we call Connie John. Long-time friend and just a wonderful person. Well, I mean, I'm saying it in front of people. I mean, I can be dishonest.
Woo! Yeah. Yes. Kami John, 30 Kami. We're going to sign off here. We've been streaming for about 3 hours. I appreciate everybody coming. And I just want to add something to what Cole said. He's talking about economics and how that's being used to more or less kill us on the daily, just with resources. And he said something understanding how our government pays for things, federal finance. Maybe we can get some nice things. I'm telling you, we can. Our government is completely bought out by the rich, by the head of Norfolk Southern and all the other industries. It's like voting does not do shit. We're not going to get anything by going to the voting booth and cheering for our favorite politician, man. This is going to have to be working class organization. It's going to be. The sad thing is, we're not going to get it until East Palestine happens everywhere because a lot of people don't think it's going to happen in their neighborhood. They're like, it's way away from me. I don't have to worry about it, but it's coming to you. You don't think these bastard corporations are going to fuck up your neighborhood? You're delusional. So get on the ground, get with your people, organize. Let's create a better world. Woo! Thanks for coming. Check us out. realprogressive.org. Got a lot of cool stuff, some educational stuff. Big thanks to Joy. She's always out here kicking ass, trying to fight the power. It seems like an uphill battle sometimes, but you know, it'll always seem like that until we win. So let's just keep fighting, guys. Love y'all. Take care. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Adios. Recording if you don't mind.